Buying time. That's what Leander ISD School Board indicated they wanted to do in last night's meeting when it comes to dealing with budget cuts.
The board met until after midnight discussing and questioning Dr. Gearing to better understand the cuts and changes they'd like to see made to the plans announced last month by district leadership.
The biggest change discussed was the board's openness to raising the district's deficit threshold to 4.5%, which would mean less cuts and tapping more into the district's rainy day fund. Here's a recap of how the meeting went last night.
You're not talking about trying to close a school for the start of next year, are you?
It's possible.
How would you get zoning done? How would you get the
Other
transportation
districts are doing it
around?
right now.
They were
School zoning didn't take
Richardson,
Carrollton Branch, Plano.
Conversations got intense at the meeting, which lasted until after midnight as board members and district leadership debated ways to deal with pending budget cuts.
We're going to do a little math lesson here real quick. I also want to just share a little bit of my thought process with you and try to create some clarity around where we are and where we're going.
As a response to a directive from the board at last month's special budget workshop, Gearing used a whiteboard and marker to break down potential ways to mitigate cuts, which could include saving assistant principal positions at middle and high schools, as well as keeping IB in LISD in some form. The meeting started off with tough questions for Superintendent Dr. Bruce Gearing on details of central office budget cuts, which were announced on Tuesday.
somehow or another in the admin cuts, we cut positions that weren't really real, or the positions that weren't filled, and we were able to operate without those positions for forever because they hadn't been filled. And then the cuts were back on the campus again. And so I think that if we're telling campuses, hey, yeah, we're all being asked to do more with less, I felt like in that 3 million cut from administration, I would expect positions that had not been filled in 12 months or positions that we had created for people that are retiring out. I don't think those should have counted in the 3 million.
I will tell you that I do not feel, as your superintendent, as your budget manager, that more cuts at central office are healthy for the institution over the long term, and I would not recommend that we do that.
One option for avoiding those cuts, Gearing explained, is by raising the threshold the board sets for how much the district can go into a deficit, which currently sits at 3.5%. Other board members include Sade Fashikin, interjected with ideas of their own for how the district could take drastic measures to avoid some of these cuts, including combining underpopulated schools.
This is a time to really take a bold step and really deal with our property, the for lack of a better word, the carnage on the people side is, and for the students, it's really high. And so what I'm looking at is one school, elementary schools, in Central, maybe one in Central, one in the South, using those to consolidate to other schools, we can save quite a bit.
School board trustee Trish Bode was hesitant to the suggestion of closing some campuses.
I want to make sure that we're not picking and choosing winners and losers, because now we look at this board and we're like, oh, we've got to do something immediately. I want to make sure that we're looking at, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it, the whole picture. And I want to know what is the process in which we're going to do this.
Gearing said he agreed the district needs to be open to ideas like consolidating campuses, but says the district must be thoughtful in how it goes about doing so.
I agree with you, Sade, that, and I said this from the beginning 2 years ago, that we need to consolidate campuses. But we have to go through the process of how to do that well with our community, and attendance zoning is a great example. We give our community a lot of notice when we do attendance zoning because we want them to be able to work through that process of change. I think we need to just be really careful about what radical things we do now when we have an opportunity to do this differently, where we can slow down and calm down and say, let's walk through this. We have the fund balance, that's what it's there for. That's why we've been fiscally responsible for so long and built that fund balance to the level it is, for exactly this moment in time.
By raising the deficit threshold, which the school board sets, the district can have some more time and flexibility in holding off on some cuts and explore other options to save money.
The board is expected to add discussion of changing the budget deficit threshold to their next meeting. We'll be sure to keep you updated.
To catch up on all things regarding the budget cuts, you can find our previous stories on our YouTube channel at CPHS News.